Well, hi everyone. You know what it means if I pop on live? It means it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? It's 5 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we hit that time a little earlier than some of you. But I know you've been watching, and I appreciate you watching. We have added a YouTube channel, so if you want to find the YouTube channel, you can search Shore Sports Media. Started that so that we can have the archive from some of the past shows on there as well, and you can enjoy it. So if you go there, search Shore Sports Media, please subscribe. You know, we learn a lot about these social media platforms. So once we get to 100 subscribers, then I can have the custom URL for the real name of the channel. But in the meantime, just search for it and it'll pop up as well. Many of you, if you're joining for the first time here on LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook or on YouTube, just to let you know, a few weeks ago, I just decided, you know what, sometimes when I wind down here in the office at the ALS Association, the North Carolina chapter in Raleigh, North Carolina, you get to the end of a long week and you start to kind of clean up in the office. And I just realized that instead of happy hour, a good way to wind down is just to have some conversations, put together some content like I used to back in the day that I enjoyed so much. You know, back in the broadcast day, the thing that I enjoyed the most was interviews. It wasn't always possible to have interviews with compelling people all the time. So I just figured that that's what we'll do occasionally. Some of them have been sports related in the first few weeks. We had my friend, news anchor at WGN TV, Larry Potash. So you could check out those on the YouTube channel as well. Cameron Mills, two-time NCAA champion at Kentucky, telling us about what was probably one of the greatest teams of all time, the 96 Kentucky team as well. So got a lot of guests planned. We got a couple other surprises coming in the future weeks, but it's just a conversation. It's just a little fun wind down that I do here in the office because a lot of work goes on just like you do as well. So I hope you'll join in, put the comments down there. You see the replay afterwards in case you've missed it. I actually want to, I give it a little bit of time so that we can kind of, everybody gets their notifications. There's Amara. Mara, good to see you. I know you're working hard further out west, so it's a little break during your day as well, but thank you that it is Friday, and I appreciate you watching as well. You can see that if you put the comments in there, I'll be able to see, and I'll put it up on the screen. Maybe you'll have some questions as well, but there's always a unique story behind one of my guests, and today's guest is very unique. We spent a lot of time shoulder to shoulder in the world of sports talk radio over the years, and he's always been a great friend. But for many times we had to be in the trenches, putting together either a radio station, putting together a plan for a radio station. So many of you in my audience know him easily as Rick Scott, one of the best sports radio consultants out there. And Rick is joining me on Live at 5. Rick, it's just so good to see you.
Hey, it's good to be seen these days, Dave. It's good to be seen. You're looking well, my friend. You're looking well.
Well, no, you are as well. Tell everybody where you reside.
Well, we typically split time. My wife, Jan, and I split time between Scottsdale, Arizona, and Issaquah, Washington, which is just east of Seattle. But due to the pandemic, this is the first time we've been in Issaquah since, for me, December 2019. And kind of special because we have a little granddaughter who just turned 2 a couple of weeks ago and finally got to see her. And it was... words can't describe the feelings and stuff. And we have another grandchild on the way. They haven't learned that they don't want to know if it's a boy or girl. So we will wait. That's coming sometime in August. And then we have another granddaughter in Scottsdale with our son and daughter-in-law there.
You know, Rick, this is weird because for so many years, especially those ones when I wasn't behind the scenes, but if I was on the air, I'd be worried because I'd be doing a talk show and I would know that you were monitoring, writing down all the things that I needed to work on as well. So this is kind of fun to not have that pressure.
Well, Dave, I have my pad and notes right here. So, you know, I'm writing down things that I'll talk to you about later.
Well, you know what? I was thinking of all the times that we worked together, Rick, in various markets. I thought it was a genius moment. When we always had to integrate in the national shows from ESPN. And I thought that when we tried to figure out how we were going to brand Mike and Mike's show a little different, I thought you had the best solution of all. You had us flip the names. And so when we flipped it to Mike and Mike, that was a genius idea.
Well, I know, but I can't take credit, Dave. That was really your idea.
No, I think we probably stumbled on that. Rick, what you are still involved in sports talk radio, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm still doing some consulting work. Obviously, slowed down, and haven't done the 200,000 miles a year because of the pandemic, and have really cut back and have just have some really great clients.
What do you think has changed? Everybody experiences it. The people that are watching this at their jobs or whatever, they've experienced talk radio. You've been around it for so long. With all the mediums we have here, like these streaming platforms, what's changed the most?
I think the immediacy, Dave, really. It used to be, if you think about it, it could take, a day for a story to really pop up and appear, or for you to get the background on the story. But now it's instantaneous. And, there was always the thing about, 15 minutes of fame. I think anymore it's 15 seconds of fame, because everything is so fast. It's almost an overload for the senses, because there's so much going on and so much information, and you just kind of have to filter it out. And I think that's where a lot of people have had a problem, and almost to the point of being, okay, well, I'm going to back off and I'm not going to, they try to curtail the input. And the other thing that's really changed too is that it used to be that the media, whether it's radio or TV or newspaper, and for those younger, probably going, what are those? That it carried so much weight in what you said and what you did. Now it still does to a certain extent, but people have access and can have their own platforms, and a lot more voices in the mix. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, because we don't really have a way of substantiating sometimes the difference between an opinion and something that's fact. And that, I think that's really what creates a problem, is that, okay, where's the boundary, from that standpoint? Is this something that's real, or is this somebody's opinion? And it makes it tough. And it makes it tough for people in radio performing these days, because, they have to work extremely hard to be successful. And there are plenty of successes out there.
Yeah. You were my inroad coming out of TV. You were my inroad to the world and learning about talk radio, along with our mutual friend Scott Masteller as well. You started out in music radio, though, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, I started out in music radio and did pretty much, I did country, I did top 40, I did rock, the whole gamut. I programmed Kink in Portland for a while, which was kind of an adult AOR type of a station, album-oriented rock, for those who don't know what AOR is. And then, got into sports radio and really enjoyed that, and also did some things with talk radio as well, although I prefer sports radio because it's a lot more fun. Talk radio sometimes gets too serious. We
have a very interesting twist in the story, and that's coming up in just a minute. But I think that, when we talk about compelling talk, you always had what I enjoyed is you had a different ear. You were a different voice in the room. You could hear, to someone that thinks of, well, my favorite talk show host pops to mind in their head. What usually is a characteristic of someone who is compelling in this day and age?
Well, Dave, I think it's somebody who can capture your attention and do it in a respectful, intelligent way, and not browbeating you or trying to sensationalize. Somebody that can give you great opinions, great insight, and really, really jumps out. And I mean, there are numerous personalities in sports radio across the country who do that very, very well. I think it really, and what really drives the format now is personalities. And I think that's the key to the success. And Bruce Gilbert, a good friend of mine, used to say he would always judge talent by if somebody could come into his office and entertain him within 5 minutes and have them engaged, then he knew that they had some magic and some ability as a personality. And I think that still holds true. Somebody walks into your office and engages you. And I mean, we see those people every day, and they're incredible. I mean, I always thought Charles Barkley would make an incredible sports radio talk show host if he could ever show up on time and do it on a regular basis, because he's engaging. He's absolutely engaging.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. The trends have changed so much. Rick, what has gambling, what has sports betting, what has that done to create the fervor that people want, the constant information?
Well, I think Dave, that two things on the sports gambling and gaming is that it always existed. Right now, it's just becoming legalized, and governments and organizations are making money off of it legally. Where before, it's like, okay, and a disclaimer, I've actually never ever bet on a game other than something in fun, whatever, because I felt, I was involved in sports and didn't want to get close to it. But and I played a couple of square games, and that's it, for Super Bowl, things like that. But I think what it does is it opens up a whole new revenue stream, especially for sports radio, which it desperately needs right now. And it makes things more apparent. And I mean, it's sort of what fantasy football did to the NFL overall, in the fact that you might not be interested in a Cleveland-Baltimore game. Sorry, Scott Masteller. But now if you've got a fantasy team and you've got players on both those teams, you have an interest, and it's like, okay, suddenly there. And I think the gambling aspect of it really, it takes that into play. I mean, and there's pros and cons with it, like anything else, but I think it's better legalized than being under the table.
Rick, as I mentioned in the intro, and folks, we appreciate you joining us here on the various platforms, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube now as well. And if you haven't, I'd love for somebody to try the YouTube. If you can search Source Sports Media and subscribe to that, make sure that it's getting a good, clean feed, and that you can put some comments in as well. One of the things that I wanted to do on this, Rick, just these conversations, is there's so many interesting people on here that I know, and so many of us, you probably included, we just got so caught up in the daily job of it, the travel, everything else, that sometimes getting a hobby, getting something to do to make things a little bit different and balance your life was always kind of put on hold. When I have seen some of the things that you've been involved with, and now tapping your artistic ability, I would just wanted to share that, because many people are kind of wondering, how can I do that, and what will it mean to my life? What has tell me what you're doing now, and I'm going to show a little bit of it as well.
Well, actually, Dave, I started knitting.
Well, see, there it goes. Cat's out of the bag.
No, actually, two things. I've dabbled with photography for quite a while. This is Robusta, but more so from the woodworking perspective, and just started out as kind of a hobby, and it got a hobby that kind of got out of control.
Yeah,
so
I do right now.
Yeah, I do live edge tables, and this is a shot inside my shop in Scottsdale, and this piece right now, that's called Queensland Maple, and these are raw slabs that I haven't finished. But the woodworking, the live edge stuff, I do tables, I do some live edge art. I actually recently finished a frame for a mirror for a lady. This is a 7-foot eucalyptus mantle that is going into a home that's being remodeled. And the thing is heavy, very heavy.
Oh, I bet.
From that standpoint. Just different types of wood. This is a piece of Oregon black walnut over there. And then this is Buckeye burl, again, a raw piece, just dabbling with some things that I might do with it. That's green serpentine, the stone in there. And this is ironwood from Arizona. And that has a little bit of chrysocolla and turquoise in it from that standpoint.
Now, Rick, how did you first tap into it? I mean, were you inspired by somebody?
Well, yes, actually, my wife Jan is an incredible artist. She does abstract on it's acrylic on canvas, and she actually asked me to make a picture frame for her, and that's kind of how I got started. I'd never made the picture frame, but I made a bunch of tables, so she's still waiting for the picture frame. So
you
it
got
just
that
kind
on
of
the
started
project
like
list.
that. One thing led to another, and I just was intrigued by it. And nature and the wood is just so incredible. It has such a story behind it, and it's very therapeutic too. Believe me, just the wood doesn't talk back. Although I do get a lot of splinters, and I have had a few accidents in the shop, which just goes to say safety first from that standpoint.
Now, tell me ramp up time. I mean, from what we just saw there and what you're trying to craft now, how much of a learning curve? How were you learning
Oh,
from other people?
yeah. Well, I mean, the one great thing about YouTube is that you can pretty much search anything and different techniques, and I've done a lot of that. I've taken a few classes too. A couple of classes from one of my favorites. His name is Michael Fortune, and he's a Canadian woodworker. And Michael is spectacular. He's done work for the Canadian Embassy and their embassies around the world. A lot of government buildings in Canada, and his pieces. He sold some pieces for as much as $25,000, and I'm not anywhere near that. And Michael is just spectacular. He's got his whole facility is about an hour northeast of Toronto, and I'm hoping at some point, once things calm down with the pandemic, to be able to get up and see him at his location and check it out, because he's got a whole setup, and he's got intern programs and all kinds of stuff. But just a phenomenal guy, and just one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. He's just very unassuming and has a passion for what he does. It's which makes it a lot of fun. So I've taken a few classes along the way, and then I've done a lot of studying, research, and some of it is trial by error too. You try certain things, and you go, hey, that works, or boy, that really looks bad, so I'm not going to do that again from that. But it's real unique, and I guess to show you just some of the unique things there.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I've got this is a piece of stone that I use for inlay, and I don't know if you can see that, but this is petrified peanut wood.
Okay. Look at
Okay,
that.
yeah, petrified peanut wood. So I do this as an inlay in the voids from that, and then it's just remarkable with the stone and with the wood. This is a piece called Mookite, and it's from Queensland, Australia. But you can see how we're going to get the light on that. You can see
Yep.
how intricate it is, and that's all nature right there.
Now, wait a
But
minute. So where do you find those pieces? Are you out acquiring them as well?
well, I'm fortunate that there's a huge it's called Rock and Gem Show in Quartzsite, Arizona, and it's January through February every year. And Quartzsite's about a little over 2 hours east of Phoenix, and there are people who come from all over the country to sell rocks, and it's pretty spectacular. And I usually go out there at least once during the session, sometimes twice. And I don't know if you can see that. That looks
Yeah,
like it's painted.
it does.
This is paint up here in the corner over here, the white dot, but the rest of it is the actual stone. And here, this is the texture of the stone. This hasn't been painted. That's the actual texture of the stone, the color of the stone, which is just remarkable. I mean, and the picture really doesn't do it justice.
It
But
looks pretty good. I mean,
yeah,
I
no,
can see it pretty good on there.
yeah, no, and the wood is spectacular. I like working with burls because burls have unique patterns and stuff, and I've done all kinds of things. I've got pretty good source. This is again Buckeye burl, and this is I think this is a wall piece that I did for some people in Reno, and that's chrysocolla, and then there's some agate there, and just all kinds of stone. But it's kind of fun to really put it all together and do something special. And what's really kind of neat is just the reaction of people when I do a commission for them. They see it and they really like it. I've got several good clients, really good clients. A couple of people that I've done 5 or 6 tables for.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing I'm asking, because everybody in this day and age, they hear it as a side hustle. Things that they've got to do on the side. It would seem as if the amount of time and hours, you would never be able to put the appropriate value on it for someone to purchase it, or do you? I mean, is that your desire, or is that an end product of?
No, I mean, one of the things that I do, people say, well, how long will it take to do this? I said, well, whenever it's finished, from that standpoint, because I don't rush. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it because I enjoy it and because I want to take my time. I had one piece that I took 6 months to figure out the stone inlay on it, and it was a piece of the Buckeye Burl. It was about 4.5 feet long and 2.5 feet wide, and I think I was 21 pieces of stone in it. Yeah, because there were so many voids, and that's it was fun. And a lady who saw it, I originally had it as a wall piece, and she said, "Can you make a table out of it?" I said, "Yeah." And then when she got it in her home as a table, she said, "No, I think I like it better as a wall piece." So put it back up on the wall, which was fine. And that's again, I really love the working with the various wood, and it's just fun to do. It's very, like I said, it's good therapy.
Rick, I started this because I said, you know what, I think there's a motivational message out of a number of things. And I don't want to go that you went from workaholic in any way to right to this. I mean, you could swing the stick in golf. I know that a couple of times when I visited you, you loved the camera, you loved photography as well. So right. Was it all kind of first of all, just talk about the maturation in terms of just kind of finding something else.
Well, Dave, I always have tried to look at other areas. For instance, photography requires a certain discipline and you do certain things, but it also helped me with my sports radio and with my business because you're learning different things. Yeah. It teaches you a different discipline. And I always tried to look at other industries, other businesses, and say, what are they doing that I could apply to sports radio that made sense? And that's, I think that's part of it. And it was just sheer enjoyment. I mean, with the photography, I was invited and went to the Lishui Photo Festival in 2009 in Lishui, China. And it was the Chinese government who brought us over. And we're there for a full week. I ended up staying 2 weeks, but a full week on them. And it was spectacular. And I had 21 images on display, and 4 of them went into the Museum of Photography in Lishui, permanent display from that. And it was real. I did a thing called the 5 elements, which are for China, and it was all a lot of Northwest pictures that reflected that. And it was really enjoyable, and to get out and I love landscapes. I do a lot of landscapes when I shoot photography. To me, it's just easier. I don't really shoot people, and when I say shoot people, I mean photograph them. I don't
right.
Although in China, it was pretty amazing because I did do some photography of people there, and it was. It's spectacular. And there it wasn't litigious because people here, if you take somebody's picture, they're going, "What are you doing with that?"
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, you're doing something illegal. You're trying to take my rights away. And there, the people were. I took a picture of this guy's young son, and it was a digital camera, and I showed him on the back of the camera where the image came up, and he offered me a cigarette. I declined, but the people there were really, really welcoming, and it was a very unique experience because part of the process, they took us around to different locations, to a mountain village, to a sword factory. 4 of us skipped one of the tours and went through Lishui and just did street photography, which you couldn't snap pictures fast enough because people were just enamored. Of course, somebody my size, they don't see very often. Walking through downtown Lishui. Yeah. Which, by the way, Lishui, I had no idea. It's probably now it's over 400,000 people, but at the time it was around 350,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, this has really opened up things. Is this a longevity thing, Rick, you believe, for people that say, should I get one? I mean, myself, I'm trying to find that hobby, something that's It's
Well, I
different.
mean, just explore your passions. I mean, some people like to hike, some people like to
Yep.
collect rocks, some people like to, you know, um, cycle. I mean, I started cycling, and I really enjoyed that. And my son and I did the STP Seattle to Portland,
See, I forgot about
and
that.
yeah, yeah, no, and the cycling was really, again, sans the cars that might and trucks that might be out there. It's very serene, very therapeutic in the fact that you know, you just have time to think and clear your head, and I enjoy all those things. A little dicey a couple of times. On the way to the Grand Canyon, there were some of the tour buses that didn't really think much of cyclists, so I almost met one of the side windows on the buses a couple of times, but I'm still here.
Only
And,
you,
and,
Rick.
and, and that's the one thing I will say for cyclists. Please, if you see a cyclist, the physics and the dynamics of you passing them in your car, that force of energy of wind is more significant than you think. And if they have the little thin tires, that means it's a road bike and they can't get over on the side of the road without taking a spill if it's not paved.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, tell me, Rick, if people go, I put it up on the screen there. You have a beautiful website,
thanks.
naturalwoodedge.com. I get nothing for promoting this. I've got some books over here of my friends. If I see that they finally do a book project, I buy it. I went to your site. It looks good. What are people going to find there?
They'll find some of my work. I have probably maybe a third of the work that I've done and put up there. I mean, like everything else, I kind of get a little slack on putting everything up, but it gives you an idea of what I do and stuff. And the majority of my work, I typically don't do just tables, and then put them up for sale. There's a few I think there, but most of the time it is commission work, special things for a special place, that kind of thing.
No, it's really nice, and you can find your social media handles there as well. I was very impressed. I would have never thought you were a Pinterest guy. You have a very nice Pinterest site.
Oh, well, I have to give my wife credit because I said, what is this thing? And she goes, oh, it's Pinterest. I go, well, what's that? It's pictures and people follow. And it's amazing because I've put up several things and gotten quite a few hits off of it. I mean, social media is kind of hit and miss. It kind of depends if you hit the algorithms right. You can take off. So
no, it's fascinating.
Hey, the one thing I wanted to say, Dave, is congratulations to you and kudos for you for stepping in and doing what you're doing there. Not an easy task, especially these days with the charities and all the things going on. But kudos to you. That's pretty remarkable what you're doing, and very, very impressed by it.
Rick, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you as well. I talked to another media person that I had dinner with finally post-COVID last night, and it's a real gear change. But he was surprised to hear. What we found that during COVID times, very, very people did not lose their thought of being generous. For others, which I was very pleased with. And for anybody out there in the nonprofit world, if you can go through a period where we did not have to lose any services provided to patients in the ALS community or in the state, that says a lot. So, there are good people out there. There's a lot of needs out there. And, it's a complete reversal. And you've gone through that as well, Rick, as well. So I appreciate that. It's there's wonderful people in this organization, in our national organization, and all around in the nonprofit world. There's just wonderful people. And you know what? I'm in a beautiful city here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I remember to anyone here in Raleigh many years ago, Rick and I, people don't realize it takes meetings to try to figure out 99.9 The Fan. You know how a piece of paper could really fill up with just ideas, didn't it, Rick?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I still remember sign-on day with in the kitchen there, and his name is gonna slip my. He was giving a forearm to the refrigerator.
Mark Thomas.
Mark Thomas, yeah, he was given a forearm and moving the refrigerator about 2 or 3 feet every time. He was so pumped up, we had to calm him down.
Rick, this has been truly enjoyable. You know what I always say when I end a conversation with you, right?
Yep,
I say, good job.
good job, man. And I always say, dude, where's my car?
And we both chuckle. That's what friendships do. It's been a long time. I appreciate it. I hope people understood the message there, because you know what? It's really good to have those things. You have a very artistic family now. Say hi to Jan. If I was judging it or someone else was judging it, who's the most artistic between the two of you?
Oh man, that I'm not. I'm not.
Come
gonna
on, you're competitive.
Come on, Dave. You know that. You know that. Come on.
No, I
Come
know.
on.
She works. Hold on. I got see this one right there. There's
Hey, there's Tej. Hey, Tej.
TJ Lambert says hi, boys.
Yeah, Tej on his ranch out in New Mexico with all the horses.
Yeah, there's Charles. He could put some great production together back out in LA during my days there as well. Thank you for everyone listening. Yeah. Rick, I'll get you a copy of this. I hope you enjoy watching it again, and people get a chance to check it out and look at your work. Okay.
I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Stay safe, and thanks everyone. And the one thing I say is, for your hobby, find a passion and follow it. And who knows where it's going to lead you, But just let it happen. Let it happen. Don't look too hard, because then it might be hard to find.
I love it, and this was nice because we could take our time, Rick. We weren't going up against commercial break. I like these.
I've got the notes, Dave. I'll call you later.
All right, Rick. Thanks so much. The great Rick Scott, and please check out that website as well. I have a lot of fun here, and I've tried to make it balanced with many different people, because I know the first couple of weeks, when you spend 30 years in the sports industry, I realized that when I look down, there's just so many connections. But and last week we had Beto Duran. We had a good conversation, as he knew the LA area backwards and forwards. And then I just started going down and starting to think about some others. But there's going to be more sports people, because the interesting thing I always say is I asked Coach K one time. I said, "You guys really got it figured out that companies across America, they'll pay six figures to have you all come and speak and to motivate." And you think about it, Lou Holtz. Has anybody heard Lou Holtz live? It's just it's amazing. And I remember Coach K said, Dave, they're just fascinated how we get 12 people pointed in the right direction. Somehow we get 12 guys who all come in with a different agenda, and point them in the right direction. Find the guy who's going to be the leader, empower the rest of them. And so these very, very big companies, billion-dollar companies, they're just fascinated about how these guys tick. And I remember hearing Lou Holtz, and sometimes you think, well, they do this all the time. They're not worth the money or something. I'll tell you what. I was with a group that brought Lou Holtz into Vegas one time, and my job was that company bought a bunch of Lou's books for the employees to have at their chair when they got there. And my job was sitting in the hotel room with piles of books, and I volunteered to do this because I knew what kind of access it would be. I handed a book to Lou. Lou had a list, and it would be Lisa from the front office. And Lou would just, Lisa, you are in an incredible spot to be a frontline person to deliver the message and the friendliness and the morale of this company. Thank you for what you do. This is what he would do time and time again. An engineer, what you do to make things, and he would do that. And I thought, you know what? It's one thing to hear somebody speak, but it's another thing to see how his mind worked. One more thing about that. At that time, Lou had been obviously great success at Notre Dame, had gone to South Carolina, completely turned things around after the first year. But it was bargain basement early on. And, you know, I have told this story a couple of times, but Lou said, you know, the funniest thing was every football organization, every school, they had their big alumni preseason gathering. And he said, I went in there to the South Carolina one, and I did everything that I did at Notre Dame. I started to tell him we were going to win a title, and we were going to do this and that. And he had all the emotions to it, and he was fist pumping or whatever. And he said it wouldn't take very long at Notre Dame, and everybody rose up. And they were getting into it as well and cheering and same. Not one person, he said, got up at South Carolina. And he said he realized right then, this is something different. This is going to be a chore because the people out there in the audience, they didn't think about a championship. And so I immediately thought, you know what? That's why these companies bring them in, because people are thinking at one level and they have to tell them what the main purpose is. And that's why I've so enjoyed seeing teams achieve one level, add a couple of elements, add a couple of new players, and suddenly things just start to go up, and vice versa, you know, down and tanked. Next week, I'll bring my hat. I pulled a hat out of the closet that I realized was 2006 NBA Finals hat. So I'll bring that in as a little prop next week. Tell the story of that locker room NBA Finals hat from 2006. We'll have another guest next week. We'll also have a nice announcement of a little podcast content. And so please do the YouTube if you can. Let me put that up again. Shore Sports Media, just search it. Please subscribe. After we get 100 subscribers, you can already find all the past episodes of this little production called Live at 5. We had an entire department that worked on coming up with that name. And then also I'll unveil something that means a lot to me in the coming days. Okay. And we will, it is ALS related. We have a huge walk across North Carolina, and I'll be unveiling my Facebook fundraising team as well. So we'll spend some time dedicated to providing some entertaining content along the way as we fundraise as well. So appreciate everyone giving comments during the week. I've been amazed when I talk to somebody and they say that they've watched. I didn't expect that, but hopefully we just bring a little smile to you. I'll take suggestions, and I'll start to give you a little heads up on some of the people that I've kind of pegged that I'm trying to get in the future when they're available. So that's it for a Friday. I hope you have a great weekend. It is just so nice out here in North Carolina. I hope it is wherever you are as well. Have a blessed weekend. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week for Live at 5.